So replacing a battery on Jabra Evolve. The manufacturer made it so it's very difficult to replace it because they want you to buy a new headset. But it is not entirely impossible. So you start, there is a unit, this is the microphone. You start on the side opposite to the microphone, so this side. So first you need to remove the cover and it just simply pulls off. Nothing fancy here. Don't worry if it gets pinched on the end, it doesn't matter. Okay, now you have foam, and under the foam you can kind of see a little bit of a green motherboard. So what you want to do is get a plastic pick, very small one, or credit card, or if you have a good nail, and separate. It's held in almost like a little very thin double-sided tape, like this. I just use a screwdriver just to pry it open, and then just a foam held in by the black double-sided tape to the base. Just trying to get rid of the foam. Now is foam removed, just set it aside. You have 4 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4. Nothing fancy, just a small Phillips screwdriver. Now that you removed all 4 screws, you can pull off the cover. Under the cover, yeah, just don't lose the screws. There is this little holder with 2 more screws. Again, just Phillips. Remove both. Now that you removed it, remove this little clip that holds the speaker, the back of the speaker. And you're almost there. So not to overstretch the wires, the lighting is so. Remove 6 more Phillips screws. Okay, now that you got to all of them, you can lift the cover. Now that you removed it, there's your prize, there's your battery. The battery is held in by a little bit of double-sided tape, but not a problem, just pull it off. And then just use a simple 2-wire battery. Don't need to get anything fancy. Unfortunately, it's not clicked in, but it's soldered onto the board. So, requires a little bit more finesse, but definitely removable. You can get your trusted pair of nail clippers and just cut the wires. Make sure you do them one at a time. My suggestion is, of course, to keep the wires as long as possible, as you'll need it to put the new battery in. Just in case I need it, I removed the cover from the battery just for protection for the new one, because getting OEM battery is impossible. So you'll be sourcing a eBay or Amazon battery of similar size. As you can see, battery is just about 1 inch long by just over 1 inch. And that's about 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters. So just look up anything battery that fits. As you can see, the capacity is 1.2 watt hours. And this is about a 3.7 volt battery, 1.2 watt hours equals about 350 milliamp. Of course, your prices may vary. I'm in Canada, so the prices you see isn't Canadian dollars. Found some random battery on Amazon. The size seems to be pretty close and the capacity is pretty close. So I'll be getting this. So now about putting the new battery back in. You have several options. If you're good with soldering, you can unsolder this connector, for positive, unsolder this connector for negative, and just solder in new battery. If you're not so good and don't want to overheat the motherboard, you can solder it just to the end of these wires. It'll be a lot easier, a lot safer, specifically if you're not very good. But not everybody likes soldering, so if you want to make your life a little bit easier, you can get a pair of these things. They're very, this is like a low temperature solder. You simply can apply either a heat gun or even a lighter. So put two wires inside, apply the heat, and this will melt and connect two wires together. This is a very small, for a small gauge wire. In order to fit into the small space, you might have to cut it here, but I'll see. I haven't made a total decision what to do. So this is the battery that arrived. As you can see, it's about as long as the original, but it is definitely narrower. The thickness appears to be the same, so should be no problem fitting it inside the headset. But as you can see inside, there's not much more space to fit a longer battery. Definitely you want a wider one. Maybe if you can cut off those little pieces, you can fit a bigger one, but for me, that's comfortable enough fit. As you can see, I got lazy, and instead of soldering on, picked an easy way out. Just doing these things makes life a whole heck easier. Just line it up so the solder is just above the exposed edge of wire. You can quickly set this end with a little bit of heat if you're careful enough without melting the solder. So this way the heat shrink is not wobbling up and down. And you're done. So I rewrapped with original little leftover double-sided tape and just fitting the battery back in. Now I just reassemble all the screws back in. One important point during assembly, yes, I found it out after the fact of course, is when you do the top screws, make sure the shaft is properly inserted, otherwise you'll get trouble with the headset rotating too many degrees. Reassemble the speaker holder with the two screws and a little catch. Align the speaker bag. You'll notice these two oval tabs align with the two oval holes for easy installation. Finish reassembling the 4 screws for the speaker. Take your foam and just stick it back on in the original position. You'll see it has a little 2 cutouts and a little 2 indentations here. And now time to stretch the foam around the earpiece. It seems to be catching nicely, going around into the groove. And now that you finish assembling it, time for a test, of course.
On. Talk time 10 hours. PC connected. Power off.